We've been sold a beautiful lie. A life without friction, a path with no stones, a journey cushioned by comfort from beginning to end. We chase it relentlessly, curating our feeds to show only ease, choosing the path of least resistance, and treating discomfort like an allergy we must avoid at all costs. We tell ourselves this is happiness, this is success, the soft life, but look around, look inside. For all our efforts to engineer away difficulty, we are more anxious, more fragile, and more terrified of life than any generation before us. We have built a world of comfort on the outside, only to cultivate a landscape of fear on the inside. We've become marathon runners who have never sprinted, fighters who have never been hit, thinkers who have never had their beliefs truly challenged. And we wonder why we feel so weak. We wonder why the slightest turbulence sends us spiraling. What if the problem isn't that life is too hard, but that we've made ourselves too soft? What if the very thing we're running from, the struggle, the pressure, the pain, is the only thing that can truly save us? The Stoic philosopher Seneca saw this truth with piercing clarity over 2,000 years ago. He said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." This isn't just a clever quote. It's a law of nature, a blueprint for the human spirit that we have desperately tried to forget. Just as a muscle, shielded from all resistance, will atrophy and waste away, a mind protected from every challenge will become brittle, fearful, and incapable of bearing the weight of a real, meaningful life. The labor is the gift. The resistance is the path. The difficulty is the medicine. We spend so much time praying for easy lives, but a life without challenge is a life without growth. It's a story with no plot, a song with no crescendo. It's a quiet, comfortable, slow decay of the soul. But you're here because some part of you knows there's another way. A way that doesn't run from the storm but learns to stand steady within it. A way that builds, not avoids. A way that strengthens, not softens. If this kind of thinking speaks to the part of you that is tired of being fragile, tired of running, and ready to build a mind that life cannot break, then there is one simple, free favor I'll ask. Just tap that subscribe button. It's how we keep this space alive together, a space for those who choose strength over comfort and truth over illusion. Let's get into the heart of what it means to be strong. Let's understand why the universe isn't punishing you with its challenges, but preparing you. First, we must understand that resilience is not something you are born with, it is something you build. It is the spiritual and mental callousing of the soul. Think of your mind like an immune system. A child raised in a perfectly sterile environment, protected from every germ, grows up with a weak, hypersensitive immune system. The slightest exposure to the real world sends it into shock. That is what we have done to our minds. By avoiding every minor inconvenience, every uncomfortable conversation, every small failure, we have created a generation of minds with no antibodies to hardship. The moment a real challenge appears, a job loss, a betrayal, a health scare, we collapse, not because the event is insurmountable, but because we have no training. We have no memory of survival. This is where the wisdom of the Stoics cuts through the noise. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, wrote to himself, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." He wasn't just being poetic. He was programming his mind to see obstacles not as barriers, but as fuel. Every time you face a small difficulty and don't run, you are performing a single rep in the gym of the mind. That frustrating traffic jam you endured with patience instead of rage. That was a rep. That critical feedback you listened to without getting defensive. That was a rep. That moment you chose to do the hard task first instead of procrastinating. A heavy, powerful rep. These moments feel small. They feel insignificant. But they are the building blocks of an unbreakable mind. Carl Jung spoke of integrating the shadow, the parts of ourselves we fear and repress. Difficulty is the shadow of life. We fear it, we avoid it, we pretend it doesn't exist. But by facing it, by integrating its lessons, we become whole. We start to understand that our capacity for pain is directly linked to our capacity for joy. You cannot selectively numb emotion. If you numb the pain of failure, you also numb the thrill of success. If you numb the ache of loss, you numb the warmth of love. Most people spend their lives trying to build a fortress to keep difficulty out. But the Stoic builds a fire within, so that no matter how cold it gets outside, they are the source of their own warmth. This fire is built stick by stick, challenge by challenge. You don't start by facing the blizzard. You start by learning not to shiver in the cold breeze. So, when life presents you with a small, irritating challenge tomorrow, don't see it as a nuisance. See it as an opportunity. A chance to add one more callus to your mind. See it as your training, because the world will always provide the resistance. Your job is to provide the effort. True resilience isn't the absence of scars. It's the strength of the skin that has healed over them, stronger than before. Second, difficulty is the ultimate purifier of vision. It is the great fire that burns away everything that is not essential. In times of comfort and ease, our lives become cluttered. We chase things we don't truly want, status, approval, possessions, because we have the luxury of distraction. Our values become blurry, our purpose becomes diluted. We think we know what matters, but our conviction has never been tested. Then, crisis hits. And in that moment of impact, all the noise, all the fluff, all the trivialities of a comfortable life are stripped away. Suddenly, you are left with what is real. Plato's allegory of the cave is a perfect metaphor for this process. We live our lives chained in a cave, watching shadows on the wall, mistaking them for reality. These shadows are the fleeting pleasures of a soft life, the social media likes, the temporary validation, the easy comforts. We believe this is the world. Then a difficulty, a great struggle, shatters those chains and drags us out of the cave and into the sunlight. At first, the light is blinding. It's painful. We want to retreat to the familiar darkness, but as our eyes adjust, we see the world for what it is for the first time. We see the truth. We see what was real all along. Think back to the hardest moment of your life. In that moment, were you worried about how many followers you had? Were you concerned with office politics or the opinion of strangers? No. In that fire, you were left with the bedrock of your existence, your health, the love of your family, your integrity, your will to survive. That is the clarity difficulty gives you. It is a brutal but priceless gift. It reorients your compass toward your true north. Many people live and die in the cave, never knowing the difference between the shadow and the substance. But those who have suffered, those who have been dragged into the light, they can never go back. They can no longer pretend that the shadows matter. This is why people who have endured great hardship often radiate a quiet, unshakable peace. It's not that they don't feel pain. It's that they no longer confuse pain with importance. They have learned to distinguish between a threat to their ego and a threat to their soul. They have been forged in a fire that gave them a clarity most people will never know. As Aristotle taught, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. But you cannot truly know yourself in the sterile comfort of the cave. You only meet your true self when the shadows disappear and you are forced to face the raw, unfiltered reality of your own existence. So when things fall apart, do not only see the loss. See the revelation. What is this moment revealing to you? What illusions is it shattering? What truly matters when all else is stripped away? The answers to those questions are the foundation upon which you can build a new life, a real life, grounded not in comfort, but in truth. Third, you can never truly trust yourself until you have been tested and survived. Self-trust isn't an affirmation you repeat in the mirror. It is a deep, cellular knowing earned in the trenches of adversity. You can tell yourself you are strong, you can tell yourself you are capable, but a part of your mind will always whisper, "But have you proven it?" An easy life, a life where your capabilities are never pushed to their limit, breeds a subtle, gnawing self-doubt. You become a king who has never been to war, a captain who has never weathered a storm. Your authority feels hollow, even to yourself. Difficulty is the proving ground. It is the arena where you go head-to-head with the person you thought you were and discover the person you actually are. Every time you face a fear you thought would break you, and it doesn't. Every time you carry a weight you thought would crush you, and you don't fall. Every time you navigate a darkness you thought would consume you, and you find your way out, you are not just surviving. You are forging an unbreakable bond of trust with yourself. You are building evidence. You are giving that quiet, doubtful voice an irrefutable answer. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who was born a slave and endured lameness, taught that we cannot control external events, but we can always control our response. This is the cornerstone of inner freedom. But this control is a muscle. It must be developed. When you choose to respond with courage instead of collapsing in fear, you are building that muscle. When you choose to respond with integrity instead of taking the easy way out, you are strengthening your character. You start to realize that your power isn't in preventing bad things from happening, but in your ability to handle them when they do. This kind of self-trust changes everything. It changes how you walk into a room. You are no longer seeking validation from others because you have already validated yourself. You no longer fear rejection because you know you will survive it. You no longer shy away from responsibility because you have proven to yourself that you can handle the weight. You become your own anchor. This is a power that comfort can never give you. Comfort makes you dependent on external conditions. If everything is fine, you are fine. But the moment the external world shakes, you shake with it. The person who has forged self-trust through difficulty is different. They are the calm in the storm because they know the storm is outside of them, not inside. Socrates said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." Part of that examination is testing your own limits, not recklessly but deliberately, to see what you are made of. So do the hard thing, have the uncomfortable conversation, start the project that scares you, take the risk, not just for the external reward but for the internal one. Because on the other side of that challenge is not just success or failure, but a deeper knowledge of yourself. You will have proven something to the most important person in your life. You. And that kind of trust, that quiet, unshakable faith in your own ability to endure, is the definition of psychological wealth. Fourth, our own suffering is the doorway to true compassion. Before you have truly struggled, your understanding of another's pain is academic. It is theoretical. You can feel sympathy, a kind of polite, distant pity, but you cannot feel empathy. Empathy is born in the shared language of pain. It is the quiet understanding that passes between two people who have both known the darkness. When you have felt the sting of betrayal, you understand the guardedness in another's eyes. When you have known the weight of grief, you can sit with someone in their silence without needing to fill it with empty platitudes. Your pain becomes your passport into the human heart. The psychologist Carl Jung spoke of the wounded healer. This is the archetype of the person whose own wounds give them the ability to heal others, not because they have all the answers, but because they are not afraid of the questions. They are not afraid of the messiness of pain because they have lived in it. Their presence is comforting not because it is perfect, but because it is real. They can say, "I know," and you can feel it in their bones that they actually do. A life of uninterrupted ease creates a kind of emotional illiteracy. You can't read the subtleties of human suffering because you've never had to learn the language. You become impatient with grief, uncomfortable with sadness, and dismissive of fear, because these are foreign territories to you. But when you have navigated your own hardships, your heart softens. The judgment dissolves. You stop seeing another person's struggle as a sign of weakness and start seeing it as a part of the human story. You realize that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act in spite of it. You understand that resilience is not about never falling, but about how you get back up. This is a profound shift. It moves you from an observer of life to a participant. It connects you to the whole of the human experience. As Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, what is not good for the swarm is not good for the bee. Our struggles remind us that we are all part of the same swarm, all navigating the same fundamental challenges of existence. This deepened compassion is not a passive state. It informs your actions. You become a better leader, a better friend, a better partner, a better parent. You listen more than you speak. You offer presence instead of solutions. You hold space instead of trying to fix. This is a quiet, profound strength, and it is forged only in the fire. So when you look back at your own pain, do not see it as a wasted time or a mark of shame. See it as your education. Your suffering was your tuition for the university of the human soul. It is what allows you to connect with others on a level that comfort and ease can never touch. It is what makes your presence a sanctuary, not just a performance. Your wounds are what make you a healer. Fifth, difficulty is the chisel that reveals our true potential. We live our lives encased in the marble of our self-imposed limitations. We tell ourselves stories about who we are. I'm not a leader. I'm not disciplined. I'm not strong enough. These are not truths. They are hypotheses we have never bothered to test. We build a comfortable life within the confines of these stories, never daring to venture beyond them. We live, as it were, as a small version of ourselves. And we mistake this smallness for safety. Then life, in its infinite and sometimes brutal wisdom, presents us with a challenge that is bigger than our story. A situation that demands more from us than we believe we have to give. We are forced to either break or become more. This is the moment of truth. This is where potential is born. You don't discover your limits by staying within them. You discover them by pushing against them. You don't find out how strong you are by lifting what is comfortable. You find out by lifting what you believe is impossible. Aristotle taught that excellence is not an act, but a habit. He said, "We are what we repeatedly do." This applies to our potential. You don't become courageous by reading about courage. You become courageous by repeatedly doing brave things, especially when you are terrified. You don't become disciplined by setting a goal. You become disciplined by repeatedly showing up day after day when the motivation has long since faded. The challenge, the difficulty, is the stage upon which these habits are formed. It is the resistance that turns the habit into a skill, and the skill into a part of your character. Think of it this way: a sapling growing in a sheltered greenhouse will be tall and green, but its roots will be shallow and its trunk weak. The first strong wind will snap it in two, but a tree growing on a windswept cliffside will be gnarled and weathered, but its roots will be driven deep into the rock, and its trunk will be dense and powerful. It has been shaped and strengthened by the very resistance that threatened it. We are the same. A life without the wind of adversity creates a weak and fragile character. It is the struggle against the wind that forces us to grow deep roots. Carl Jung believed that in every one of us there is another whom we do not know. He called this the self, the totality of our being. We only meet this other, this deeper, more powerful version of ourselves when we are called upon by life to be more than we have been. So when you are faced with a monumental challenge, a task that feels utterly beyond your capabilities, know this: this is not a punishment. This is an invitation to meet the person you were always meant to become. An invitation to break out of the marble of your old story and reveal the masterpiece that has been waiting within. Your potential is not a fixed point. It is a horizon that expands every time you dare to walk towards it, especially when the path is steep. To summarize, the path to a strong mind is not paved with comfort, but with the stones of adversity we choose to walk upon. Seneca's wisdom echoes through the ages because it speaks to a fundamental truth of the human condition. What we resist strengthens us. Difficulties are not the interruptions to our lives. They are the curriculum. They are the labor that forges the mind into something resilient, clear, and powerful. Each challenge we face with courage builds our resilience, our mental antibodies against the inevitable storms of life. Each crisis strips away the trivial, purifying our vision and reminding us of what truly matters. Each hardship overcome builds a deep, unshakable trust in ourselves, an anchor that holds steady when the world outside is in chaos. Our own pain becomes the sacred ground where empathy is born, allowing us to connect with others in a way that ease never could. And finally, it is in the face of our greatest challenges that we are forced to shed our limitations and discover the vast, untapped potential that has been dormant within us all along. We should not pray for an easy life, but for the strength to endure a difficult one. We should not ask for tasks equal to our powers, but for powers equal to our tasks. The goal is not to create a life free from problems, but to become a person who is not broken by them. So the next time you face a struggle, the next time the path becomes steep and the weight feels heavy, pause, breathe, and remember the words of the Stoic. This is not happening to you, it is happening for you. This is not a punishment. This is your training. This is the labor that is making you strong. This is the friction that is polishing the diamond of your soul. Welcome it, face it, and let it make you unbreakable.